The Reformed Gamers is brought to you 100% independent and ad-free thanks to our dear patrons over on patreon.com/reformedgamers to get yourself sweet, sweet perks such as uncut early access to the episodes, special episodes of the podcast, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/reformedgamers and consider lending support and joining the herd. Without further ado, let's hop into the show. Hello and welcome, dear listeners, to episode 182 of the Reformed Gamers, the show all about theology, video games, and helping you connect your faith with your favorite hobby for 6 years now running. This is so hype, man. I'm your host, Logan.
And I'm his co-host, Adam.
Dude, it is wild. First of all, it feels good to be back. It feels good to be back in the saddle, in the earbuds of the dear listeners. But it also feels even better the fact that we reached 6 years of doing this show. Who would have thought?
Closer to 10 than we are to 0.
Exactly.
So we're at the round up stage, so we might as well be 10 years old.
We might as well be. We're well seasoned. We know what we're talking about.
We just got out of kindergarten, so we know our alphabet and our numbers.
Exactly, man. I know how to do maths. You know, we can do all that stuff. We can help people.
We stopped wetting the podcast bed, and so we're consistently going to the potty by ourselves.
Well, let's not get a little too carried away here because we're still fumbling over words. So we're still, it's still a little messy over here. So this is a weird analogy, but I think it works. Anyway, dear listeners, just want to thank you again for just the support over these past years and helping us continue doing what we're doing, and we greatly appreciate it. And we can't wait. I don't know. Words are hard. We're looking forward to continuing this. And keeping it going here. We've got to hit the 10-year mark at this point now. We're past that hump of 5 years. We got to go for 10, dude.
Hey, by the Lord's grace and help, it might happen. Like we've said on the podcast before, there's been some days, some weeks where we're like, okay, we're done. This ain't happening no more.
Right.
We got it. We enjoy doing it. We enjoy hanging out with each other, with the listeners, interacting. All those things keep us coming back. And so,
it's true.
And so we'll keep trusting the Lord in that. If we get to it, awesome. I don't see any reason why not. Again, a lot of life happens. If we've learned anything from 2020 is that life happens and it can throw things into a shuffle. So barring something crazy or, family, that's our big family, our church, our ministries, of course, we try to give those priorities, but this is one thing that we've made a priority for 6 years. So we're going to keep doing that as best as we can. And I'd love to hit 10 years. I haven't done many things in my life for 6 years. And so, I've been married for 6 years and I've been in this podcast for 6 years. So, it's just crazy thinking about, there's not many other things. I haven't lived in an area for 6 years since I was since I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. So, I've been doing this podcast. It's been one of the more consistent things in my life over the last 25 years. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, man. Wow. And I'm sure a lot of our listeners could probably say this has been probably one of the more consistent things in their life. And I'm glad we could give that to y'all. So excited to have you guys, especially excited for some of you new listeners coming in from YouTube, Discord, Twitch, all those places. Grateful for your support over in those avenues. It's crazy to see that our YouTube channel broke 500 subscribers last year, and it's just still growing. It's still growing. So glad we could help you guys out with some extra content there as well. We're going to keep doing that in 2021. I would say nothing's going to stop us, but I can think of a few things that could potentially stop us. But hey, Lord willing, we're going to keep doing the show. We're going to keep cranking content out for the dear listeners. And speaking of content, before we get into the show, in case you guys aren't aware, in case you were just so excited to get a new episode of the Reformed Gamers in 2021, you're like, yes, I need it in my ears, and you skip the title and stuff. We're doing our Game of the Year awards today on this episode. But before we get into that, gonna go over a little bit of housekeeping. We've got some housekeeping for you guys and gals to check out, some things for you to do if you have not done already. We got some new content over up on the website, thereformedgamers.com. We are doing a TRG Best of 2020 series. The writers came to me and were like, hey, we can't let you and Adam have all the fun with these Game of the Year picks. How's about each one of us writes an article about our favorite games of 2020? I was like, hey, get after it. I'll even do a YouTube video as well. And then like, yeah, let's do this. So Micah dropped his, Tyler dropped his. Wesley's is probably waiting on me to review, and I haven't even checked it yet. But Wesley will be getting his up there, and then I'll be putting mine up there on the website, YouTube, this episode. I mean, you guys, there's going to be a lot of stuff. So if you missed out on some games last year, or if you got a console for Christmas or even a PC, you're going to have plenty of recommendations coming from TRG for you to check out. And that should help you out as well with them. Words are hard. It's still in 2021. It's never going away. YouTube channel, a few different videos up on there. You guys can go check out a clip from one of my past streams just talking about one of the things you can do to get the most out of 2021. And then by the time this episode comes out, it'll be this episode on YouTube, so you can enjoy that over there. And I'm working on some other content too, and it's just I've got some things, I've got ideas. We're gonna have some fun this year. This is gonna be. If you thought we put out a lot of content last year, you just buckle up. 2021 is going to be nuts. Speaking of being nuts, join our Discord server. Have some fun over there. Love seeing. We had an influx of new dear listeners join over there over the past couple weeks. And so it's been awesome getting to know them. Apparently, we're forming a chess club over there. So if you're interested in chess, hop on in there and I'll get you some easy wins because I'm not very good. And you will do very well against me, I'm sure. But that being said, there's that. Join the Discord. Link will be in your show notes. Also follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Logan. Stream every Friday morning from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Just kind of hang out. We just kind of hang out, have a chill stream, talk about something Bible related, just kind of share a little devotional. We talk, and then we play Destiny 2 afterwards. So if you want to play Destiny 2 on PC, let me know. As always, you can support the show on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. Support as low as $1 a month gets you early uncut access to all of our episodes, gets you access to our monthly Q&As that we started up doing, and then it also gets you a variety of perks. And so that's just support as low as $1 a month. You can't buy a cup of coffee for $1. But you can get our episodes free.
Hey, at Speedway,
not free, but you get it. You know what I'm saying. Words are.
It may not be a good cup of coffee, but at Speedway you can get one.
That's true. So there's that. You can also if you can't support us financially, totally understand that. We do ask that you rate and review the show on your podcast app of your choice, whether that's iTunes, Google Play, or whatever it is that you're using. And also, if you're listening to the podcast, why not take a screenshot or a picture of you listening to it, post it on social media, and tag us in it on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook, and we would love to share that. We just love seeing people listen to the show. It's nice to see my grandma listen to the show, but it's nice to see other people listen to the show, if you know what I mean. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the show. A little bit of what have we been playing in the first what have we been playing of 2021. Adam, you handsome, bearded man. What you been playing?
Well, again, in the pre-show, we were talking a little bit about this. Haven't been playing as much as I'd like, but been playing. That's probably the life of every gamer. I wish I could play more, but I'm thankful for the time I get. And so, been playing a couple different things. I think last time we spoke, I'm trying to remember where I was at with different games. But actually, the funny thing is, last time we had that podcast, I said by the time we record next, I'm pretty sure I will have given up on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And the actual opposite has happened. I've actually dove in pretty hard. I kind of surprised myself with it. I got to the point where I'm like, okay, do I want to sell this game? Do I want to be done with it? There's been steep discounts. I'm like, honestly, even if I sold at this point, I might get a decent price for it, but the price is going to remain steady for a while because of how quickly it's dropped. So I'm like, I'm going to give it the old college try one more time and see what happens. And I started playing it, and I fell in love with it again. I'm like, man, this game it looks great. It plays great. It's got that next gen kind of feel to it compared to some of the other games I've been playing. Like I finished Miles Morales, that felt kind of next gen with just the smooth gameplay. But then I transitioned I beat Ori and the Blind Forest. That's what allowed me to kind of starts, get back into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And I'm like, I think that's what got me into it was like, that game looks so great. It's got some good combat. There's a ton to do, so I'm really just main questing it at this point, but really, really enjoying Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and I see myself finish it. I don't see myself abandoning it when, like I said last time, I thought I was for sure not going to play it again, but I actually committed to it. Like I said, I finished Ori and the Blind Forest. I'm really glad I finally got around to that game. It was a hard game. There were hard moments, honestly. Every time you like finished a dungeon or whatever you want to call it, and you have to escape, that was always like the hardest part, I think, for me, is kind of learning what's happening. You kind of get a little bit further each time until you finally escape that area. But really fun game, beautiful game, great soundtrack. Really glad I finally got around to that, so Steven Gutierrez can get off my back. I beat Ori and the Blind Forest, and eventually I'll play Will o' the Wisp. So yeah, enjoyed that. And then the last game that I'm still playing is I started up Immortals Fenyx Rising. And again, that's another game that I abandoned a game. I'll talk about that in a second, which opened up some freedom to play something on PlayStation. And this game, I was interested in it because they say it's like basically like it's a knockoff Breath of the Wild, and it really is. It's like it's very much a Ubisoft Breath of the Wild. But the biggest thing it's lacking is Zelda. That's really that within the world is what made Breath of the Wild just super special. I mean, the gameplay, of course, and that's not to say that Immortals Fenyx Rising has a bad story. Like, the writing is super clever. Have you got to play it all yet?
No, I did pick it up, but I
Yeah.
haven't really gotten to do anything with it.
Yeah, I knew you had. I thought you had picked it up. At least I didn't say I know. I thought, and so, but the writing it's funny, it's clever. It doesn't take itself too serious. Very much Breath of the Wild gameplay with some different things. If you're not careful, one of the great things about Breath of the Wild is there was nothing on the map. You just had to explore. There's nothing. You can have nothing on the map if you want, or at different points in the game, you can kind of look around and tag stuff, and that can make it almost overwhelming. So I almost encourage not doing that because there's just, I mean, you could spend hundreds of hours probably exploring this map, but the gameplay's fun, the story is entertaining, the writing is clever. I'm having a good time with it. Every time I play it, I'm like, I wish I had more time. I wish I had 15, 20 minutes
Yeah.
more, which is a good thing with that game. Like, it's a game where you could have a 2-3 hour session easy and feel like you got a lot done or not, because there's so much side stuff you could do. You'll be going from point A to point B, and all of a sudden you've made 5 pit stops, and you're like, ah, dang it, like I didn't get to do any of the things I was trying to do. But it's been a good time. I'm glad I'm playing it for sure. It's a good game right now. When, like we said in the pre-show, there's not a lot coming out right now. You can spend some time with this game and not feel like there should be other stuff you're playing. So,
Right.
and then the last thing I'll say, the whole reason I'm playing Immortals is I abandoned Cyberpunk. I don't know if we talked about it last episode, but I had started it. I wasn't very far in, and honestly, the biggest struggle for me is, first of all, the game crashed like crazy for me. I kind of
No.
determined, okay, I'm going to go ahead and just play it. It runs good enough on the PlayStation 5,
Okay.
even with the bugs, but it crashed like 3 times within 15 minutes. And I
Wow.
wasn't finding that I was really enjoying it. So I'm like, you
Hmm.
know what? I'm done. This game,
Yeah.
I didn't really want to support CD Projekt Red after all the craziness that's been going on. And so
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm going to pursue. Now, I haven't got my refund yet, but I'm like, I'm going to pursue a refund through CD Projekt Red just because it's broken. I can't.
Yeah.
I was actually gonna try to just beat it, and then I would sell it on eBay or whatever. But because the game, it wouldn't allow me to do it. It was crashing too much. I said, you know what? I'm not gonna fight this game. I'm just gonna sell it, or hopefully get my refund through Cyberpunk and ship it back. But we'll see. I'm one layer into that refund, but we'll see what happens. So yeah, I
So they
abandoned Cyberpunk.
So do they have this like? Is it like a process to get a refund through them? Then
They did. If you haven't done it yet, I don't think you're eligible anymore.
no, I
So
meant like is it like when I say process, I meant like is it some kind of like they make you
it,
jump through a lot of hoops to get a
well,
refund?
they send you. You had to send an email to their like refund at CD Project Red or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sent me an email, and you kind of filled out a form like name,
Oh,
where you
okay.
bought it from. They want proof of purchase, proof that you still have it. They give you like a special code, and then you send that in, and then they say they'll get back to you after they verify stuff. So I'm just waiting for that verification. They said it's supposed to be done by January 11th, so we'll see if that actually happens.
Yeah,
And then I don't know how they'll refund my money exactly, but um, yeah, we'll see what happens. I'll keep you guys posted.
that's wild.
Worst case scenario, if it doesn't again, I'll either wait for a patch in the future, or I'll just kind of get what I can get back on eBay, which stinks because I wouldn't get all my money back, but
Right.
I'd get probably enough.
Yeah. Man, what a nightmare of a situation for that. Definitely on par for 2020 it seems. And I mean, I guess that's a pretty good segue then into what I've been playing because I
Yep.
too have abandoned Cyberpunk. I put 10 hours into it on PC between two different characters, just trying to see like what the different backstories are and how they affect the game. Spoiler, they don't, or at least maybe I didn't get far enough for it to actually affect the gameplay. But from what I could tell, it doesn't really matter what background you pick, it doesn't really change much of anything. And my experience with the game was like I didn't really encounter a whole lot of bugs. I was very pleasantly surprised by the fact that my computer was running it as well as it did, and the I think some of the worst glitches I ran into was just like a pair of guns were floating in the air. Like I would just have really weird items just kind of floating in the air at random spots, and so it was nothing really egregious. I wish I had some of the more hilarious glitches that I've been seeing online with cars just flying out of the sky and things randomly exploding. Like I'd probably enjoy the game more if it did that. But yeah, my time with the game is, I think if I could label it as something, it's disappointing. I know that's going to be different from what a few different outlets have said and a few different YouTubers have said, but I and I'm beginning to think that these kind of games are just not for me anymore because
Mm,
I didn't really enjoy any of the combat. I thought the combat was really clunky, and I was just
yeah.
like, this feels like I'm playing Fallout 4 without the VAT system, and I don't like that because I use the VAT system in Fallout so much because I think the combat's garbage, and I
Mm,
need something like that to actually be able to hit something. And so I didn't really like the combat, and even with the nudity filters on, this game definitely does earn its M rating. I'm normally not really bothered by language, but this game is just balls to the wall, bonkers with its language and some of the content that they're saying, even if they're not cussing. And I'm just like, this is a bit much. And even when you
mm,
first encounter Keanu Reeves' character, like I was genuinely like, I don't want to play this anymore. This
yeah.
guy is vulgar. He is abrasive. And I get that's what they're doing with the character. They're doing a few different things with it, but like that's just not what I want to fill my time with, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. And I hated the driving. The driving is when you compare when I can
The
play the
driving
game,
was bad. It was bad.
dude. When I can say that the driving mechanics in Grand Theft Auto 4 were better than this,
Yeah.
that's not a compliment at all.
Yeah.
Because for those of you that have played Grand Theft Auto 4, you know the driving in that game is horrible and it's bad in this. And eh, I'm perplexed by this game's world because it seems like this society is obsessed with sex. And I'm
Mhm.
like, this is so far down the road of just complete insanity that one I don't want to be in. I don't want to fill my time with this.
Yeah.
and two, I just don't believe that this actually would exist at some point. And I don't know, maybe this is just how the cyberpunk genre is, but I I just found myself not enjoying the game, especially as I was just exploring Night City. Every time I went into a new area, I would be inundated with calls from quest givers, and I'm just like, this is about as fun as getting a bunch of pop-ups from opening some website. And I just,
That's a good illustration.
it's so bad, and
Yeah.
I just did not enjoy the game at
Yeah, I
all.
think I've never played a Fallout, but if Fallout is like Cyberpunk, I don't ever want to play Fallout, honestly. Um I just, again, I've liked some RPGs, like I like The Witcher 3, kind of that Western RPG, but this one just, it wasn't. So, I said the reason I was quitting is because it was broken, and that is the main reason. But
Hmm.
I wasn't in yet. Like it definitely hadn't won me over. I wasn't like really, really enjoying my time. I was trying to give it, like I said, a good try. But if it was good enough that I was like, okay, I'll deal with the brokenness, but that just explains I wasn't enjoying it to that level to where I was willing to give it the time it was needing. But yeah, it was definitely, there's an over sexualization. The shooting isn't very good. The driving's not good. There's just a lot of things that weren't. Again, there's some great graphics and stuff like that. I mean, it looked
Hmm.
cool, but I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't for me either. And so,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it
And
was. It was. Yeah, but again, there's a lot of people that really like
oh,
Fallout.
sure.
I think some of it is I didn't want to like, dialogue in video games has to be very like intentional for me to
Hmm.
really like it in games because it's just the time. I don't want to sit there and be reading and listening to just a ton of dialogue per se. Like Miles Morales it worked great. Like the cutscenes were always super intentional and they always had a lot of meaning. I didn't really feel like all the dialogue in this game was always necessary. It was a lot of just stuff that I didn't care about. So I found myself reading and skipping ahead
Hmm.
and all that. If I'm going to be doing that, this isn't a game for me if that's how I'm feeling about it, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally agree. And that's the thing is because like I remember when I first played the game and I came across that conversation in the elevator. I think I brought this up in the last episode about how, there was this preacher and this engineer debating on whether or not this tech that comes into play later in the game, where you can supposedly you can transfer someone's soul to a chip and then have them forever. And I was like, dude, yes, let's get into these philosophical questions. Let's talk about these things. But I would rather just have a game where it just explores that stuff and you don't play it. And yeah, I basically would rather have a game like that where I don't have to play it. We just talk about those things. And so I was disappointed on a variety of points on this game. And so I honestly don't see me coming back to it at any point at all. I have other games to play. And
Mm,
speaking of other games to play, I went back and finished Dragon Quest XI-S, or I should say I finished the third act of the game on the Nintendo Switch, because after you beat Act 2, there's a whole other act that you unlock that you can play. You don't have to do it, but it gives you another ending. It unlocks all sorts of side things that you can do to level your characters up and get extra gear. And so it was good. I'm a bit split on the third act in this game.
mm,
There's a part of me that really enjoyed the extra content, despite the giant spikes in difficulty. But at the same time, I also felt it was kind of unnecessary. Like it almost was like I don't know. It's weird to complain that there's too much content in a game, but I feel like this game and Persona 5 both tried to provide a lot of value and just content to the players, which is good. But in so doing, they kind of went overboard a little bit. And so I don't know. But dear
mm,
listeners, if you're playing Dragon Quest XI, you let me know what you think of the third act. I obviously can't talk about anything story wise because there's major spoilers, but
mm,
there were some cool moments and there were some cool tie-ins with certain plot threads that were explored early on in the game, and so it wraps up a lot of things pretty nicely. But at the same time, I'm just not too sure how much of that was actually
Part of me
necessary.
wishes I could bring my Switch save over to the Xbox because now that it's on Game
Yeah,
Pass, I'm like, if I ever wanted to get back into it, I could take my 15 or so hours I put into it and not have to replay it. But
yeah.
because I did not enjoy that game, I was just like, it was just a lot of
There's a
different
lot.
games.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I hear you. The only reason I was able to play it was because I brought my Switch with me when I
Mm,
went and visited my folks, and so we had a lot of downtime. And I'm like, well, I got downtime. Let's finish this game out. And so I finally did. I think my final time clock in the game rounded out to about 85 hours. So
mm,
I mean, not bad, not bad at all. So and plus this game, like you said, Adam, this game did come to Xbox. It did come to PC, PS4. You can play it on PS5 as well. So if you haven't played it yet and you're looking for a JRPG, I do recommend it. Just know you're going to get a lot of mileage out of this one, which is either a blessing or a curse, depending on your perspective. And another game I finished recently, actually just last night, the night before this recording, is Haven. It's a new game
mm.
by the game bakers that made Fury. If you guys are in the Facebook group or you follow us on Twitter or you're in the Discord, you already saw me share some of my thoughts about it. And um, I'm gonna just come out and say I can't really recommend this game, which is
Mm.
disappointing because I love Fury so much. Fury is one of my favorite all-time games. And the thing with Fury focused so much on the gameplay and didn't really focus so much on the story. And Haven does the complete opposite of that. There is combat, there is resource gathering, but it's more about the story of this couple who flee their utopian society to live on this planet by themselves. But as they explore the planet, they uncover some conspiracy stuff, some shady things, and they wind up being hunted by the utopian society that they left. And so you're trying to just survive and do what you can. And I'll say some of the positive things, get those out of the way. The game is gorgeous. I love the art style that they do with these kind of games. Fury was the same way, and I love the look of it. The music is really stinking good. It's really good. Just like there's moments when you're exploring the planet, it's chill and it's atmospheric, and then you're in the combat and it's very energetic and it's got a lot of bass and it's got some good music. And I will say that it is fun to explore the planet. It's fun to upgrade your ship, and it's fun to just see these two interact with each other. Because there's times where I'm like, this is a really cute couple. Like I love them together. They're funny, but kind of where the game starts falling apart is in its controls, which are really clunky, and the camera is really wonky at times. And not only that, it's a guy and a girl, right? And when a guy and a girl are on a planet together and they don't really have a whole lot to do, I understand that they're going to engage in adult activities, but the degree that these two talk about sex is, in my opinion, way overdone.
Hmm.
Because like there was a point where I was playing the game and the 2 to 3 hour session I played, it seemed like that's all they talked about. And I'm like, do couples talk about this frequently? Like, am I missing something? This is so awkward for me. And I'm the kind of guy that, I'll be honest, when people are kissing in a movie and stuff, I feel awkward. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. Can you guys wrap it up and let's continue with the plot? This game is like that for hours at times. And I'm like, I don't like this. And come to find out halfway through my playthrough that the game is rated M for nudity. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I see that now because they are naked on the screen. On the loading screens, you'll see these hand-drawn illustrations of the couple doing some kind of activity together where they're reading a book or playing a game or cooking or something like that. And there's one where, like, they're naked and they're covering up body parts with their limbs. And I'm just like, I don't want to see this. And of course, I'm sitting there playing it in the living room, and my wife walks in. This is her first introduction to the game, and she's like, "What are you playing?" I'm like, "I'm done. I'm done. I'm gonna go play Sackboy's Great Adventure because surely that is a clean thing." It's just, it really ruined it for me because I'm like,
I heard
yeah,
that that was a part of it. I was listening to some other people that played it, and they said, there's a lot of that conversation. It's like,
mhm.
this couple or whatever on a random, planet or whatever. And so, but it's funny hearing you say how much they talk about it.
It's just weird, man. It's just so awkward. Like, I would understand them bringing it up and joking about it. So, like, I get it, but golly, the degree that it's in this game and the fact that like the nudity is just like there, it blew my mind. You know, I was like, I can't recommend this game, and I don't, I just don't want to play it. I wound up finishing it because I was just so close to the end at that point. But yeah, dear listeners, you be warned if you jump into the game, that's waiting for you. You know, there's
I've
no
got it
nudity.
downloaded on my Xbox, but I haven't played it yet.
It's so awkward, man. It's probably not the game I should have started 2021 with, because if that's going to set the tone for everything else I'm going to play this year, good grief, I'm just going to take up reading and become a Puritan. But yeah, that's Haven. So there it is. The last game I'll talk about that is bringing me a whole lot more enjoyment, despite how brutally difficult it gets sometimes, is Dark Souls Remastered. You know, I did a video on our YouTube channel talking about if Christians can play Dark Souls. And that's just somehow, that was in the midst of me just playing Dark Souls Remastered, because I was just like, I need to finish this game. I need to just get good and finally get it over with. And I'm hooked on this game. It's weird because I want to finish it, but I also want to explore everything the game has to offer. And so it's that weird tension of like, I want to beat this game, but I also don't want to beat it at the same time. And so to give the listeners an idea of where I'm at in the game, for those that have played it, I just beat the Great Wolf Sif, which, yes, I do feel like a horrible person for defeating that boss because of the lore and who that character is. But now I'm inside of there's like this painting where you can go inside a painting in Orlando. So I was like, oh, cool. It's like Super Mario 64, except Nightmare Edition. And so I'm in there and going through that, and that's pretty much where I'm at. I think I'm level 62 right now. I can't remember exactly. So I'm trucking along at a smooth and steady pace and just really enjoying it. And man, oh man, Code Vein was my favorite Soulsborne game in that genre, but Dark Souls Remastered is kind of inching its way up there, and it might overtake it depending on how the rest of the game goes. But man,
whenever you finish it
cool
again,
game.
I want you to ship it this way. I want to at least check it out for a bit. I don't know if I'll beat it, but I want to check it out.
Oh, you're thinking of Demon Souls. I'm playing Dark Souls.
Oh, okay. What? Yeah, I'm all thrown off.
Sorry, Dark Souls is what I'm playing on my PC. Demon Souls is on my PS5.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was hearing that the whole time. I was just
Yeah.
like, because I mean, of course, why wouldn't I think that? Because
Sure,
it's the
yeah.
newest one.
Why would Logan play a game that's like
exactly
it's like 12 years old?
Exactly. Why would he be playing it? Of course, my mind's thinking of the new game.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
It's
no, I'm
funny.
messing with y'all. But yeah, no,
Well,
it's
don't worry about shipping me Dark Souls.
I'll just
I
ship
take
you
it
my
all.
PC
I
after
take it
I
all
finish
back.
it.
I take it all back.
Can't record the podcast for a few weeks because I shipped out of my PC.
I take it back.
Oh man, that would be awesome. Anyway, that's what we've been playing. I just still feel awkward for talking about Haven. I should have never whatever. There it is. Adam, let's get into what have we been reading.
It's like reading the Song of Solomon.
No, let's not.
Now we're gonna open up the Book of Song of Solomon and start just reading it out loud.
Nope.
So what you're saying is Haven is the Song of Solomon of video games. Anyways, I'll stop there.
I mean, we try to connect video games to the Bible here and try to get them like, hey, they're borrowing from this worldview. This is like if a junior high student was reading Song of Songs and then relaying that to all their friends in the schoolyard is what
I'm just saying.
Like.
If it was just me and my wife on a planet all by ourselves, I don't know.
Oh my gosh, Adam, what have you been reading? Let's not get off this topic.
Yeah, so I've tried to make a recommitment to reading. I've been, I said at the end of this last year, like I want to get back to reading more and being committed to that. And so I've started a book. It was on sale. I've had my eye on it for a long time, saw a lot of good reviews for it, but it's called Gentle and Lowly by Dane Ortlund. It looks like it's God's heart for sinners and sufferers, I think is what it's the subtitle. But it's basically looking at, I don't remember the exact verse reference, but they say, in the early in the book, like there's only one verse specifically that talks about like when Jesus is talking about referencing his heart, and it says that his heart is, let me pull it up. It's like gentle and lowly. Um, but it has been like um it's been so good just for my soul, honestly. Like I've been so encouraged um by the book. Like it's been nourishing. So Matthew 11:29 says, I am gentle and lowly in heart. And so that's kind of, it's, the book has got a lot of Puritan writing in it. I mean, they're constantly referencing John Owen, um, Richard Sibbs, just a bunch of Puritan writers who, they're like, they'll take one verse and write 500 pages on it, because that's what the Puritans do. And it's like I said, it's just been super encouraging. Whether if you're a non-believer, they could read it because it really talks about how much God loves them and cares for them. If you're a Christian, it's great for you because it's just constantly reminding of, when we're believers, we can feel like it can be a burden to Jesus to have to forgive us of our sins that he died on the cross for. It can be a burden for him to have to draw near to us when we're in sin and seeking forgiveness and reconciliation. But the whole book is like, this is what Jesus is all about. He came because this is where he wants to meet us. He doesn't want to meet us. He will meet us when we're following after him, of course, but he came to meet us in our muck, in our mire, in our hurt, in our suffering, in our sin, and he wants to bring healing and restoration. And so the whole, like, there hasn't been many books in a while that I've read where I don't want to set it down. And this is one of those books where I'm like, oh, I just want to keep reading it because it's been just so good for my soul. Like just been encouraging. It's been a renewal. It's not the Bible, of course, but it's just been really, really good for me to read. And not that I've been discouraged, and it's not that I've been down. It's just I really encourage anyone, if you're just kind of down, if you need encouragement, if you're wondering, okay, I'm a Christian, but I'm still struggling with suffering or sin or pain, this is a great book because it's going to tell you how much God loves you and how much Jesus wants to meet you in your hurting and in your sin. And so it's been really, really encouraging to read.
That's good stuff, man. That's really good stuff. It's a thing that, man, we definitely need to remind ourselves of that often. Now, I kind of went over something similar with my students this past week, and it's something we need to remember because I think we forget it all too often. Mm-hmm. As far as what I've been reading, I was going to talk about this devotional I started that Cinematic Doctrine recommended me on Twitter about going through church history in a year. I'll save that for another time when I get a couple more days in, because I was just as we were talking during the pre-show and the earlier parts of the show, it reminded me of how I have been reading the book of Judges. Kind of started that at the end of 2020, and man, it is. When I used to read the book of Judges, I always had this. I was always frustrated because I'm like, here you have the nation of Israel, and they're having a good time, they're living in peace, and then they just screw it all up and start worshiping idols, and then God hands them over to a corrupt ruler, and then they're struggling there, and then they cry out to God, and God raises up someone to deliver them from the corruption, and then they enjoy a period of peace where they're returning to God, and then it's just a cycle that just repeats itself. And what was interesting is at this time when I was reading it, I got through those first few chapters where it was that cycle of them worshiping God, then forsaking God, and then crying out to God, and then rinse and repeat. And something stood out to me is that here you have this God's chosen people basically worshiping him, then forsaking him, then crying out to him, and then worshiping him. You have the cycle here. And through it all, I just saw how patient God was through it all. And how even though God could have totally just wiped them out and just really just made an example of them, he still provided for them, and he still took care of them, and he still looked after them. And I just felt an overwhelming sense of peace reading that. especially for those of us here in the US, there's a lot of people that are pretty anxious and nervous about, what 2021 is going to bring and what a Biden Harris presidency is going to look like. But I mean, you have a lot of people that are pretty optimistic. You have a lot of people who are kind of more on the, I guess, like doomsday side of thinking, where it's like, we're all going to die or something like that. But when I read Judges, I just think like, whatever 2021 is going to throw at us, we as Christians can take a lot of peace knowing that God has got us. We're probably going to endure some crazy things and maybe some hard things, but if we just stay focused on God, everything is going to be okay in the end. But I don't know, just reading that, and this will excite some of our listeners. I'm studying amillennialism and trying to figure out what that's all about. Finally kind of digging down and learn what that is. But between both of those, I'm just like, I'm content. I'm finally coming to grips with this idea that I can't control everything like I want to, but I know the one who is in control, and that's enough. And so it's just, I don't know, reading through Judges sounds like not a fun read, but I think for me, it's brought me a lot of peace, and it's reminded me of just God's goodness and how even though we make mistakes, we tend to worship other things. If we just return to him and cry out to him and seek him, everything's going to be all right, And so it's given me a pretty good perspective going into 2021, one that I wish I had going into 2020, but I didn't. So, but hey, maybe God used 2020 so I could get to this point and share that with people. So hopefully that helps. But that's what I've been reading. So I've been really digging it. Now, dear listeners, before we get into our 2020 Game of the Deer awards, I gotta thank Reformed Jedi for that. He tweeted us and was like, "Happy New Deer," and I'm like, "Oh, dude, that's so good. Let's get you running our Twitter." Just a quick reminder to rate and review the podcast on your podcast app of choice. But let's get into the awards ceremony. I have a feeling Skinner's going to put in some kind of cool sound bite there. But as always, dear listeners, what we do is we have a few different categories, some that are a little more unconventional than what you hear from kind of the bigger outlets on how they do their 2020 Game of the Year awards. But that's because we do things the way we want. And honestly, our opinion and rankings are the only ones that matter. So you don't need to listen to IGN. Do what?
So we do what we want.
We absolutely do what we want because we're the Reformed Gamers, and that's just how we roll. So kind of what we'll do is we'll go through a list of our awards here, give those out, share a little bit why the game got that, and then go from there. As always, dear listeners, if you have a pick for any of these awards, please let us know what they are by reaching out to us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. We'd love to hear what some of your picks are for some of these games, especially this first one that we're going to kick things off with. Now, Adam, me and you both went to a Southern Baptist seminary, and I think at heart, we're still very Southern Baptist because we like food. We like to eat. We like to comfort our sorrows with some food. Of course, we
potluck every once in a while.
A little potluck every once in a while. Bring our favorite dishes and some finger foods, as people call. By the way, side note, in 2021, can we stop calling finger foods? It's just weird sounding, man. It's like I'm picturing literal fingers on a tray.
That's not the hill I'm dying on in 2021.
I'm not going to die on it either. I just want to throw that out there. Can we stop calling it finger foods? Can we call it something else? Let's get a committee together because that's what us Southern Baptists do is we form committees, and let's come up with a new name for it. But
there's a committee to make committees.
That's right. I got to address the committee that makes the committees and then go from there. That's very good. Anyway, so all that to say, we like to comfort ourselves with some food. But not only do we comfort ourselves with food, we comfort ourselves with video games from time to time, especially in 2020 when we were locked down and things like that. So the first award that we're going to give out is the Comfort Food Award, the game that just makes us feel good. We know that after a hard day or a hard week, we just fire up whatever game console it is, open the game up, and just chill out.
Now that's good eating.
Adam, what's your comfort food game of 2020?
Yeah, there's a couple good options really this year. I mean, I think I could have put Miles Morales. That was a nice little comfort food there towards the end of the year. Tony Hawk Remaster that came out. That was another good one of like, again, you just familiar with it. Animal Crossing was one that it didn't stick with me, and that might even be yours. But my comfort food was Mario 64. So getting the 35th anniversary, that was a game I didn't have to try. I just kind of show up, go in, have a good time. I don't go and get all 120 stars. I just get the stars that I want. Finish the game whenever I'm done with it. I'm done with it. It was just comfort. I didn't have to give it a crazy amount of attention. I could watch a movie, play it in the background, and so it's just good getting back to it again. It wasn't even like remastered or anything. It was just like, here's basically a exact port of a 64 game on your Switch. But that was good enough for me because I really enjoyed playing it again. So that'd be my comfort food award.
Right on. Adam, you were right in what game was going to be my comfort food, and that is Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's a game I think as of right now, I have over 250 hours logged into the game. And I've reached a point finally where I'm like, I think I'm done with the game. But I also tweeted out to some of the dear listeners on Twitter. I was like, hey, what do some of your islands look like? Because I have a whole half of my island I need to do something with. And now I'm like, okay, I got ideas. The question is, do I want to put the time and effort into doing something with it? Or do I just want to leave it with just kind of it being bare bones as it is? I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But man, Animal Crossing came out at such a good time, dude. It was, for a lot of different people, it meant a lot of different things. But for me, it was just nice to, I've always enjoyed Animal Crossing. I've always loved the games. But man, being able to take it on the go, being able to play it with my wife, we streamed it a little bit. And a friend of the show, Jonathan Steele, made a maze on his island, and we did some giveaways in there, and it was super fun. And man, it was just such a cool game, and it's one that I still find myself popping open every now and then, just to hang out on Threat Level Midnight Island. Yes, I did name it after something from The Office, and it's just a good game, man. It's good. I hate that I've fallen out of it in the way that I have, but man, it gave me a lot of good memories and a lot of good moments with people in the community and my wife. And it's like I said, it's one I still pop open almost at least once a week now, just to check things out and see how my island's doing and go from there.
It's impossible to consistently there are people who probably do, but in general, it's hard to keep putting in 250 hours in a game that you've already put 250 hours in.
Yeah. I mean, I got my basketball court in, thanks to Aaron White from Feel and Film. He hooked me up with the design for it. Once I put my basketball court in, I was like, okay, I think I'm done. And then now I set that giant robot up. You guys can see it on our Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I think my island's complete. I got that robot that I wanted real bad, so I'm good to go. But man, there it is. There it is. So that is our Comfort Food Game Award. Goes out to Super Mario 64 and Animal Crossing New Horizons. Congratulations to you both. Now on to the next award. Now, 2020 had a lot of surprises. Some good. Most were probably really bad, let's be honest. But there's a period where we played a game and it's like, wow, like that. I can't remember the actor's name, but he says wow a lot. It's that guy. If I could remember his name, we would just rename the award to that guy's name, but we're just going to call it the Surprise Award.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Adam, what game gets your Surprise Award for 2020?
I'm tempted to put Cyberpunk just because I'm surprised that it's so bad. But,
Shots fired.
I'm not gonna. This is one that Let me see. Let me pull it up. Maybe for a lot of people it wasn't a surprise, but being someone who has never finished one of these games, I was surprised how much I liked it. And so my surprise award is Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like again, I've tried Final Fantasy 15, did not like it. And I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. It was, again, it's Final Fantasy. It's got some crazy things in it, but I loved the gameplay. The story was intriguing. I can't wait for there to be, I can't wait for part 2 or whatever they call it to come out in 5-10 years. I want it now. Like, I wish that whole game was completed because it was so much fun. And I was really surprised by, to the degree how much I really liked it and got, the wonky Japanese storytelling and all that. It didn't get in the way. And that's not to say that like that stuff is bad. It's just those usually aren't for me. Final Fantasy is just not my wheelhouse. But that game, I enjoyed it so much. And so, that was probably the biggest surprise for me. And of the positives, again, I could be a negative Nancy and pick out some negatives, but that's probably the biggest positive surprise.
Yeah, that's one I've been wanting to go back and play through again. I don't know if I'm going to get the platinum on it, but I definitely want to play through it again. And I think that says a lot when I feel like I want to go back and replay a game again, because I don't do that. I haven't done that in a long time, save for like Hollow Knight and Doom Eternal, which is something I've been playing recently as well. But yeah, that was a good game. I'm glad that game is as good as it is, because I was worried it was not going to be as good as it is, but it's real good. It's not my pick for the surprise game award. This one I had heard about through Twitter and had seen a few videos and was like, oh, this looks cool, I'll play it. I didn't expect me to like it as much as I do, though. It is tough as nails. It is hard, and I still have not finished it, but man, have I had a lot of fun with it. And that game is Ghost Runner, the Cyberpunk game that came out in 2020 that is actually playable and fun and enjoyable. And it's really good. It's available on pretty much everything. You can get it on the Switch. You can play it on PC. You can play it on Xbox or PlayStation. I personally don't recommend the Switch version because it runs at 30 frames per second. And if you really want to get the most out of this game, you got to experience it in 60 frames per second. They are doing a next-gen patch either this month or next month for it on PlayStation and Xbox. And so it's really cool. It's basically a speedrunning game is really what it is. You play as this robot ninja, and you run through levels and solve puzzles, and you're trying to take down these enemy guards at the same time. And so there's a lot of things going on at once, and it can be overwhelming, but man, is it fun to play. I beat the drum of Titanfall 2 and how good that game is years ago on this podcast. You think of Ghost Runner like this. It takes the wall running and movement of Titanfall 2 with a ninja, and that's basically what the game is. You're wall running, and like it feels really good to play. And it has that cool thing with like Celeste, how in Celeste, if you mess up on a section, it just instantly revives you at the beginning of that puzzle. Yeah. And I think that's part of why I like Ghost Runner so much, is because I know if I mess up, I'm going to be right back into the game to try again. And so it has that, like what you said when we were talking about Celeste, however long ago that was, it's like, okay, well, just one more level, or let me try this one more time. Let me try this other route that I didn't try. And man, it's a blast. I need to actually I've been meaning to do a video about this game on our YouTube channel for weeks now, and I'm going to finally try and get it out in January. But man, Ghost Runner is a game. Don't sleep on it. You guys will see on Twitter, I retweet when the game goes on sale, and I don't know if it's on sale time that this episode releases, but if you are into fast-paced action games, check it out, because it's a good time, and the soundtrack's awesome too. So there's that. But that is my surprise award going out to Final Fantasy VII HD or Final Fantasy VII Remake. I don't know what the actual title is, but you guys get the idea. And then Ghost Runner, congratulations to both those games. Now, here's the thing. We've played a lot of games in 2020. Not all of them were great. There's some that we even regret a little bit. And so, Adam, the Game of Shame award.
You're bad and you should feel bad.
What game gets that from you?
It's funny because again, I want to keep. There's a lot of there's low hanging fruit with Cyberpunk that you can just kind of pick on it.
Is this going to be like when I picked on Mass Effect Andromeda that one year?
Seriously, I feel like you can just pick on it. Usually if a game's that bad, I don't usually stick with it. But if I'm looking at some of the games that I abandoned, probably the biggest one is because it's my game of shame because I should have already played it and I should have played it on a different system instead of the one I chose to play it on. So my game is Assassin's Creed Black Flag on the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, wow.
Like I know a lot of people really like that game, and that's because they probably didn't play it on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, we all played it on PS4 when that came out, like 7 years ago, man.
PS3 or PS4. I should have already played it, because I can tell there's a lot of really good in it. Like, just with the pirating and all of the things, there's a lot to like. But it just did not. It looks really bad and plays pretty bad on the Switch, and so shame on me for not just playing it on the PS4, now PS5. But that Switch, you just want to play. If it's playable on the Switch, you want to give it a chance because why not? You want to be able to play it on the go. And so I tried it. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for me. So that'd probably be my game of shame. Not because Black Flag is in and of itself is bad, but that I tried to play it on the Switch when I should have played it somewhere else.
Yeah. I know that feeling, man. I bought Doom Eternal on the Switch last year, and I was like, I mean, it's playable, but it doesn't look the best. So I don't know if I'm. So I get that. I get that all too well. My, it's funny. I had my game of shame game lined up, and then I started talking about Haven, and I was like, you know what? Maybe that's what I should pick for this thing here, is because it's awkward. But I think a more fitting game is the one that it's like I knew it was going to be a train wreck, but I was a little optimistic, and I thought for $10, how bad can it really be?
How bad can it be?
How bad can it be? Turns out Fast and Furious Crossroads is a roaring dumpster fire in the outback of Australia, which is covered with all sorts of giant animals that just want to kill you. It's just, I'm at a loss for words for this game. And it's funny because I'm kind of clowning myself a little bit, because I remember during our Black Friday episode, I told people not to spend over $15 on it. And then I am spending $10 on it. I'm like, even $10 is too much on this game. And boy, is it bad. But for some weird reason, I want to finish it. So I don't know. It's a train wreck. But my game of shame award goes to Fast and Furious Crossroads. Congratulations. Please don't ever make a game like this again. Oh man, it's bad. It's bad. It's so bad. You know it's bad when I would rather watch Tokyo Drift, the worst one in the series, than play this game. So there's that. So Fast and Furious Crossroads. And dude, I already forgot yours because I was like just traumatized thinking about
Black Flag on the Switch.
Black Flag on the Switch. Congratulations. You guys are our 2020 game of shames. Here's the thing, though. Not all games that we played were necessarily bad, but they made us feel bad to the point where we really wanted to break that controller in half. So coming back for our 2020 Game of the Year awards is the coveted, the prestigious Broken Controller Award. This is the game that just drove us nuts, and we almost broke. Maybe we did break a controller. I might have a story or two about that. But Adam, man, what game gets your Broken Controller Award?
Yeah, I was tempted to put Ori and the Blind Forest just because there are a couple of challenging sections, but again, I persevered through it. But the one that I would say wanted me to break my controller the most is because I just wasn't good enough at it, and you're trying to like do all the different challenges, and that's Tony Hawk 1 and 2 Remastered. As you're trying to do the perfect, get the perfect score, the high score, and you mess up a manual, you mess up a grind, you fall, and you just like it ruins your whole run. Or you're trying to get that one thing. I found often I'm trying to like get to a certain section to like get a letter and skate or something like that, and I couldn't figure it out. And so again, that game was, it was again comfort food in many ways. Like, looked good, played great, just like it used to. So many good things about that, but I wanted to break the controller because I just wasn't good enough at it.
Yeah.
And so that was my biggest beef with it. Is I used to be a lot better than I was at it today. Now, probably because I played it for hours and hours and hours and hours, and I just wanted it to come back immediately. But that would be my broken controller award, is Tony Hawk Remastered 1 and 2.
Fair enough. That is one I still need to play, but that's one I will eventually pick up and put on my backlog, and I'm sure I will rage just like I did back in the days of the Dreamcast, trying to be good at that game. When it comes to the Broken Controller Award, there are two games that I remember distinctly nearly just shattering my controller over. And those two games are Super Mario Sunshine and Twin Breaker, the game that Colin Moriarty put out. And I really don't know which one to pick at this point, because Twin Breaker, there's a point where halfway through the game, it just gets insanely hard. It is super difficult. And then Super Mario Sunshine is just a mess from beginning to end. That, in all honesty, I think I'm going to have to give the Broken Controller Award to Super Mario Sunshine, because I think not only did I almost break my controller, I think I almost broke my Switch at one point over my knee, because I was so mad at the controls and the camera and everything about that game that by the time I finally finished it and got to Super Mario Galaxy, I was like, oh, finally a good Mario game,
I think I gave the Mario Galaxy this award like 2 or 3 years ago when I was trying to play it on the GameCube.
Oh, wow.
It's funny. It all comes back around.
We come full circle, man. That's just how it works. So yeah, Super Mario Sunshine, take your Broken Controller Award, go back to the dumpster. I don't want to see you again. And wait, no, you didn't say Ori and the Blind Forest, did you?
No, mine was Tony Hawk.
Tony Hawk, that's right. Golly, dude, it's getting to the point now where, like, I've joked about how when we record these episodes, I immediately forget everything that I've said the moment we stop recording. Now it's happening mid-episode, and I don't know if this bodes well for 2021. But let's go ahead and keep going before I forget what I'm even talking about or even who I am, and just have one of those existential crises on the podcast. Sorry, I just made this awkward. So the next award is the Backseat Game of the Year.
So, honey, when are you going to play that game again?
Now, here's the thing, right? Girlfriend Reviews is a fantastic channel on YouTube. If you're not subscribed to it, you need to go subscribe to them. It's hilarious. It's great. And we here at the Reformed Gamers, we too like to know what our wives think of some of the games that we're playing, because they're watching us play a lot of these games and they're probably wondering, why? Just why? Just why? That's what my wife said when I was playing Fast and Furious Crossroads. She was like, "You spent money on this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, not one of the better purchases I've made." So this one actually comes from our wives for their pick. So Adam, man, what game did Hannah pick for the Backseat Game of the Year award?
Yeah, I tried to talk her into a couple of different games. I tried to talk her into Fall Guys, right? That's the game. That's what it's called. Mm-hmm. I'm like this. I accidentally call it Fallout Guys all the time. And so
just call it that.
So I was like, "Don't you think that one?" She's like, "No." It eventually got annoying because they just playing the same levels over and over. And so a little bit of a, not a major shocker, but a little bit of one is, she said, "What's the one game where the guy gets his head beat in?" And I'm like, "Last of Us 2." She's like, "Yeah, that one had a pretty good story." And so
really,
yeah,
wow,
it chose Last of Us Part 2. Interesting enough,
man. Dude, you might need to keep an eye on her, dude. She might have a little vengeful side there.
She wants those big time stories, and so if it's just some random game where the gameplay runs it, she's not going to care. But if it's got an intriguing story, it's gonna, she'll actually watch a little bit with me.
Right on, right on. And definitely delivered on
Where
that.
she basically checks out if I play video games, so it's hard to even get an answer out of her.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I talked to Camilla a little bit, and she was like, I can't really think of any. I mean, we played Animal Crossing, but that wasn't one that she, kind of sat in the back seat and watched me play because, she jumped in on her own Switch and played with. And this one surprised me as well. I think this surprised me about as much as hearing Hannah pick Last of Us Part 2. She goes, what's that game? Well, no, she didn't really ask. She knew what game it was. She was like, I think she was like, I actually really liked watching you play Doom Eternal. And I'm like, wait, what? The one where I'm chainsawing demons in half and ripping demons open and like shoving their hearts in their mouths and stuff and like listen to metal music. And I'm like, those are like all the things that you hate that like I enjoy doing in video games. And she was like, yeah, but it's just kind of fun to just sit there and watch you just like rip through these things. And then she was like, and I'm usually sitting there going, yes, die sinners. And I'm like, okay, that's okay. Wow. Okay. That's my wife. I love her. And that's what she picked. So I was surprised by it, but she's enjoying watching me play Doom Eternal again. And that's what she picked. So my wife would give the Backseat Game of the Year award to Doom Eternal of all games. So
it's like that meme with Grogu and the Mandalorian where they're like sniping from the cliff and like, yes, die sinners.
I bet that's why she says that. She loves Baby Yoda as she keeps calling her or calling him. And so maybe that's where she got it. But yeah, I was surprised she picked Doom Eternal, and I'm like, that's fine with me. Let's rip and tear. Let's get into it. So as we've all remember, probably we don't want to remember, but we've all been in lockdown in 2020, and that gave us a lot of time to get through our backlog and play some games because a lot of games were getting pushed back, and so that opened up some time in our schedules to look at our backlog and go, okay, what game should I play? And so this next award is our Backlog Game of the Year. This is the game that was sitting in our backlog, but we finished it, or at least played it quite a bit in 2020.
As always, ladies and gentlemen, keep your backlogs and finances in mind.
And it gets our favorite game out of our backlog award, so to speak. So, Adam, man, which game did you play in 2020 that gets your backlog game of the year?
Yeah, I had a couple good options for this one. Jedi Fallen Order technically came out last year, but for a lot of gaming places, it didn't qualify for game of the year last year. It would have been this year, yada yada yada. So thought about that one. Great game. Didn't pick it.
Really
finally
cool.
got around to Doom this year. That was a good one. Thought about that one, but my backlog GOTY is one that I should have played a long time ago. I dabbled in it, but never beat it. Never had a Wii. But thanks again to the 35th anniversary of Mario Galaxy. Finally got around to beating the original. Had a great time with it. It ran and played really well on the Switch, and so that would be my game of the year. And it just, after coming off of Mario Odyssey, which again was a lot of fun, man, the 64, the Wii versions of some of those 3D Mario games were just really excellent. And so it brought me back to simpler days of 3D Mario platforming. And so I really enjoyed Mario Galaxy. So that'd be my backlog GOTY.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, for my pick, I was going through my GG app, which, by the way, that's another app that if you are not using, you should use. It helps you keep track of your backlog and the games that you're playing. It's kind of like the Goodreads or letterbox of games. And I was looking through the games that I had played in 2020 and trying to figure out, which one did I really enjoy that I played and crossed it off the backlog. And I think I'm going to have to give this award to Outer Worlds, the one where it's like Fallout in space. Yeah. And I got to say, when this game initially came out, I struggled with it quite a bit and didn't really enjoy it. And I tried like some new characters. I tried playing it differently. And then this year I was just like, you know what? Excuse me. I was like, you know what? I'm in a mood where I just do not care. So I'm going to play this game however I want. I'm going to make the decisions based on how I'm feeling in the moment. And if I just want to blow up a building or, do the renegade option, that's what I'm going to do. If I want to be a paragon, I'm using Mass Effect terms, of course, because that's my favorite RPG of all time. If I want to be the good guy, I'll be the good guy. If I want to just do whatever I want, And I gotta say, playing the game based on how I was feeling in the moment made the game so much more fun and a little more chaotic that it just finally clicked, and I really enjoyed it. The writing in the game is hilarious. I really enjoyed the writing. I think I talked about what it was like in one of the missions where you're sneaking into a base, and this guard stopped me and was just like, "Oh, what are you doing in here? This is like a quarantined area." And one of the options it gave me was like, "Are you breathing?" And like, you did it, and the guy freaks out and is like, "Don't tell my superior." I'm like, this is the kind of humor that I love right here. Is just this random zany kind of stuff. And so it's a fun game. I had the DLC, and I need to sit down and play it and get back into it. But yeah, I'm gonna give my backlog game of the year to the Outer Worlds. That's a cool game. It's a lot of fun too. So if you guys haven't played it, or if it's sitting in your backlog, definitely get after it in 2021. Now, here's the thing. In her show notes, I have it set up next to do our pick for the 2020 Game of the Year award. But I want to bring up real quick, because I put this out in the TRG Facebook group long before we recorded this back in December. And it was just like, hey, what is your guys' pick for Game of the Year? And when I had people vote on it and vote their picks, and man, Final Fantasy VII came close, but it didn't quite walk away with the Dear Community pick for the Game of the Year. The game that came away with the most votes, the Dear Community Game of the Year award, actually goes to Ghost of Tsushima, as voted on by the dear listeners. So there's that. Thank you guys for voting in that. If you guys are not in the Facebook group, you need to get on that and join us over there, hang out with some of the dear listeners. But yeah, the community picked Ghost of Tsushima, so congratulations to Ghost of Tsushima. Well picked, well deserved, great game of 2020. But does it get our Game of the Year award? Because that's the thing that matters. Does it get our does it get the golden deer, so to speak? Golden deer. Does it get the golden deer? Adam, let's deliberate a little bit.
Phew.
But some people would say that 2020 was kind of a drought, so to speak, for games. But to be honest, we just didn't get as many, but the few that we got were pretty high quality, with the exception of Fast and Furious Crossroads. So it's kind of hard to really pick just – I feel like this is probably – 2020 was the hardest year to pick a game of the year, because there were some really good games. You had Final Fantasy VII, you had Ghost of Tsushima, you had Miles Morales, you had Animal Crossing, you had Doom Eternal, you had I just had one and I totally lost it. Last of Us Part 2 is even in the running. You have Hades, you have did I say Animal Crossing yet? If I didn't say Animal Crossing, there's that. So man, where's your head at, man, when it comes to picking a game of the year? Kind of what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a handful of games that are in the conversation. There's one that I'll mention just because I know it's probably on your list. But, I think of Animal Crossing should be on there probably. Doom Eternal is probably an under radar pick for a lot of people, but I know a lot of people really like that. Mm-hmm. Last of Us Part 2, our episode, I thought, really illuminated why a lot of people would probably put that and give it their game of the year. Just the way that the writing is so, I mean, it's just amazing how they pull out so many different emotions in that game. Graphics, again, the gameplay, just the detail of that game. I mean, really just taking everything from PlayStation 4 generation and being able to accumulate in this really masterpiece of a game. So that's one that's out there. Final Fantasy VII, we already mentioned it, and just what an amazing remake that game was. Miles Morales coming out, here on PlayStation 5 as a launch title. Just an amazing story, and just it's been great getting back into that game. I mean, I don't know if there's a smoother gameplay than Miles Morales out there right now. Just the way that they have made being Spider-Man feel so natural and going through the city. I mean, those are, I'm trying to look through the list of other games. Ghost of Tsushima, of course, don't want to miss that one. Like, what a surprise. People thought that the game might be good because PlayStation puts out bangers when it comes to first party. But did anyone really expect it to be as good as it was? Probably not.
Yeah.
So there's probably what, 7 or so games, 8 games that are all bangers and deserve to be a part of this conversation. So that's where I kind of start, is on those 7 or 8 games. Is there any that I missed, or any that maybe you want to not necessarily pick but give highlight to?
I want to definitely give a highlight, or at least kind of mention Hades. This is a game that I have been dabbling in a little bit over the past few weeks. And it wasn't really until today that it kind of sunk its teeth into me. And I'm like, okay, I get why people would pick this as a game of the year for them, because when you get the right loadout, the game is just ridiculous. It's bombastic. It's fun. It is thrilling. It is tough as nails. And and the music is really good too. And I get why people picked that and put it in the running, because I think it's one kind of like Doom Eternal. It's going to go a little under the radar for a lot of people, but man, it's something, it's one of those games that you definitely shouldn't miss out on in that regard.
Mm.
And I'm trying to think of a few, if there's any others.
Well, let me ask this while you're thinking about that. What are some things that usually go into, because there's a lot of reasons that people can pick game of the year. And so I think this year it's a really unique question because of just the pandemic. A lot of people see like Animal Crossing, Fall Guys, as true game of the year candidates, which maybe they would normally, but maybe they wouldn't, just because of the way that it brought people together. Animal Crossing being a major play in that. Fall Guys, just the way that it was on fire for like 2 months, was really a phenom. It was phenomenal just seeing the way that. So normally those type of games wouldn't necessarily enter into mind. When I think of like game of the year candidates, I'm thinking of great story, great gameplay, sucking me in. Like those are the things that usually bring out game of the year candidates for me. It's not necessarily it brought a lot of people together, or just on the pure fun. Like there's a lot of games that I have fun, but I'm not going to give them my game of the year. But I mean, I had a blast for about 3 weeks with Fall Guys, which, I can't think of having that much fun in a game in a long time. Just pure bliss, nothing to it. You just jump on and you just play. And so what goes into that conversation for you as you think of game of the year?
Yeah, man. A lot of what you said, it's just one of those things where it's like, I think for me, the big thing is, do I want to keep coming back to the game and playing it again and again and again? Is it one of those things where, not to the degree where like I'm worshiping the game, but like, is it a game that I'm thinking about and it's still kind of stuck with me even after I'm done playing it, and is it something that in a way makes me feel something to a degree? All those things kind of coalesce. To have good control. I'm a stickler for controls. Longtime listeners know that I am very stingy when it comes to controls. If a game does not have good controls, I don't really play it for very long. And graphics don't really weigh in a whole lot, but they certainly help, because I love just seeing what some of these studios can do with the hardware that they have available. Music is a highlight for me. I really pay attention to the music, and just because that helps kind of get you engrossed in the game. I think the games that we've mentioned really had some great soundtracks this year, so we definitely were not wanting for music. I mean, even Animal Crossing has some good bops. If you have KK Slider in your town square at like Saturday night, he's got some bangers. Don't miss out on that dog with his guitar. And so those are a few things that I think about with that. And I think another one that I tend to lean on is, does the game make me think? Does it challenge me a little bit? That's one of the reasons why I like games like Cyberpunk and The Last of Us Part 2 a little bit, is because they made me think. They challenged me a little bit on some things, and I like that. And as we're kind of thinking through some of the games and stuff like that, I would be remiss if I did not mention a game that encapsulated every single thing I just mentioned. and that was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, the
Hmm.
remaster / remake of the Wii JRPG game. That game was a juggernaut of a game this year that, unfortunately, I don't think a whole lot of people played. Partly because it's on the Nintendo Switch, but also because it's a JRPG, and that's a genre that, at least here in the States, I don't know that a whole lot of people play. Like, I know there's a sizable amount of people that enjoy those games, but I don't think it's to the degree of how many people that played maybe like a Ghost of Tsushima or an Animal Crossing or something like that. But man, if you want a good story, something that's going to punch you in the gut and make you cry and think about some deep philosophical themes, Xenoblade Chronicles is the one you should check out. And so it's hard to pick, man. I thought at the beginning of 2020 we'd get to the end of the year, or no, midway through 2020. I was like, man, all these games are getting pushed back. Picking a game of the year is going to be easy this year. But then here we are, and it's like, it's not an easy decision to pick just one. And so it's definitely hard, but it's one of those things where we got to do it. So let's get into it, man. What's
your TRG games of the year are?
What's a game?
Oof.
Or I guess I should say,
You're
what is?
Choose. You're gonna make me choose, huh?
I gotta make you choose. I gotta make you choose. If you want to name a couple and then kind of narrow it down to one, you can do that.
I think my top two, I'll say top three, just on enjoyment, graphics, story, just loving all the things about the game. I probably have to go with Final Fantasy VII, Ghost of Tsushima, and Miles Morales. No big surprise, 3 Sony exclusives, because again, they put out bangers. What do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm taking one down from there, I'd probably take Final Fantasy VII off first. Again, love that game, but something just hit right with Ghost of Tsushima. I loved the story. You wanted to do everything in the game. Again, whenever I'm tempted to be like, look at what would it take to platinum it, that says, okay, I'm really enjoying this game. Now, do I ever go get a platinum? No, I don't, because I'm not a crazy person. But if it gets me,
crazy person.
if it gets me thinking about it, that's me saying, wow, there's something special here. So Ghost of Tsushima was one of those games that had me thinking, what does the platinum look like? That first island, I cleaned it. I did everything on it. I love just what they did with the story and seeing the tales of Tsushima, like all of the different things. Just, it was beautiful. Again, I mean, what a game. And the other game would be Spider-Man Miles Morales. That gameplay, I was thinking the other day about my PlayStation 5 and just games, and I haven't played it maybe as much as I'd like, but every time I think about it, I'm like, but Miles Morales was so good. I get emotional towards the end of that game. Just what they do. We talked about it on the episode. Just some special storytelling. Seeing some of the representation in that game. That 60 frames per second fighting. Give me, and some of it is I didn't give Spider-Man Game of the Year the year that it came out because God of War was out there, and this is almost like my opportunity to come back door around and give it the Game of the Year that it deserves, because the original Spider-Man was so good. And another game where it didn't overstay its welcome either. There was a plenty to do in that game, but it wasn't like the original where there were so many things to chase down for the platinum. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll get this platinum, but of course I didn't, but I thought about it. So those are my top two. And if you're making me choose, I'm going to have to go with Spider-Man Miles Morales as my game of the year. Probably just at the way that game, in some of those final story beats, were just really, really special. I love seeing him interact with his mom, with his friend, with both Genki and Finn, and just the emotion that game really. It was a really powerful game. And again, that's not to say that there Ghost of Tsushima didn't have some of that. Last of Us Part 2 had some of that too, of course. But partner the story with the gameplay that was just flawless, and the outfits in that game. I mean, getting the switch to different Spider-Man outfits, that alone is almost, we were talking about the Funko Pop Miles Morales characters in the pre-show and wanting to get all of them. That's because that game, they do so well with the cosmetics. I'm not a cosmetics guy, but I love them in Spider-Man because when you're swinging through the city and seeing the way that the different outfits look either at night or during the day it's just special. I mean, you can just give the controller to someone who's not a video game fan but loves Marvel and just say, hey, R2 swings, you can kick with square, you can do a little bit of moves and stuff, and they're going to enjoy just swinging through the city. And so all of those things come together for that being my game of the year is Miles Morales.
That's a good pick, man. It's a good pick. It's like I said on our episode covering the game, there wasn't a single suit in the game that I didn't really hate. I'm pretty sure I tried on every single suit and swung around New York and it just to see how it looked. And oh man, it's tough to pick. If I were to give my top three, I would throw out there Doom Eternal, Final Fantasy VII Remake, and Spider-Man Miles Morales as well. And man, I loved Final Fantasy VII. I remember booting that game up and hearing the remastered music and playing it, and just I was grinning from ear to ear, man. It was just because I had played Final Fantasy VII, the original, or sort of the original, on PS4 and getting the platinum before this one came out. And man, I was like, man, this game needs a remake because the original is it hasn't aged well. And man, they did an amazing job on it. I'm glad they proved a lot of naysayers wrong, myself included, that were worried about it. And man, it's good. Man, I can't wait for the next installment. And then Doom Eternal, I mean, you talk about just a chaotic, fun mess of a game that is just a thrill from beginning to end. And I mean, I'm even playing it right now. I didn't really talk about it on the show because it's like I already talked about it, but like I'm playing it right now on PS5, with the fast load times and everything. And golly, that game is still good. It's so much fun. But I mean, you've got Spider-Man Miles Morales that, like you said, it didn't overstay its welcome, had some incredible story beats that really tugged at the heartstrings, was just a lot of fun to play. And plus, for people like me and Micah, had an amazing photo mode that we got some really good shots out of. And so you had a lot of good stuff going on. And it's hard to pick, I don't know that I would give it to Final Fantasy VII Remake necessarily. Not because of any negative thing. It's just I don't know that I would necessarily say it's game of the year for me personally. So I guess my top two would be between Doom Eternal and Spider-Man Miles Morales. And I don't know, both games just brought me a lot of fun in 2020. And
I know what you want to do, but I don't know if you got the guts to do it, Logan.
Do what?
I know you want to pick Doom Eternal, but you know how good Spider-Man is.
It's hard to pick. They're both really good games. I mean, and that's the thing too. When I think about the dev support, the devs are both supporting these games really, really well. I mean, right now you can play Doom Eternal and unlock a suit where the Doomslayer is dressed like Santa Claus, which is like the most metal version of Santa Claus I could ever picture. It is just so cool. But Spider-Man, again, has the bodega cat costume where you have a cat in your backpack that attacks people when you're fighting, and it's just so goofy. And it's just
make a choice. You got to make a choice.
I gotta make a choice, and it's hard to pick.
And you can flippy flop on the next week because people expect that from you.
That's
Logan.
true. They do expect me to put my flip flops on and do that. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Skinner, give us a little music on this one.
You know what? I might catch some flack for this. But I'm going to give it to Doom Eternal.
Okay.
What a game. What a game. What a game. Not saying Miles Morales is bad. It's really close. I'm not going to lie. It's really close. Tune in the next episode, dear listeners, and pay attention to our Twitter account because I'm sure I'll flip-flop on this a couple times. So just, the flip-flops are staying on even in 2021. So with that being said, though, Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Doom Eternal, congratulations. You guys get our Golden Deer Awards for 2020. Enjoy that. Not that we're going to mail you actual Golden Deer statues, but, just...
We get that budget.
Yeah, you got the bragging rights, though, at least. You got the bragging rights. So there is that. Congratulations to that. A lot of good games this year. As always, dear listeners, let us know what your picks are for some of these awards, whether you're on Twitter, Facebook group, or Instagram, or in the Discord server. We would love to know what some of your picks are for some of these, especially your game of shame and your broken controllers. Those are the ones I'm always interested to hear because people have some really good picks for that. So that being said, dear listeners, thank you again for supporting the show as long as we've been around. We are looking forward to 2021 and some of the content we've got coming your way. And we think you guys and gals are really going to enjoy a lot of it. But we know some other things that you're going to enjoy as well. And that's usually our recos. So Adam, man, what is something that the dear listeners should check out?
If you have the means, I highly recommend picking one up.
I don't know if I feel like I might have recorded this before, but we're just like, my daughter is just in it right now. And so if you're looking for an animated movie, it's not like a perfect animated movie, but we're enjoying the soundtrack. It's got some fun moments, but it's a movie on Netflix called Over the Moon. It's based on a girl. It'll hit you in the feels. Get ready. Like her mom dies. It's not a spoiler. It happens early in the movie, but
I would be like, dang, dude, spoiler.
Yeah, it hits you in the feels. But we're listening to the soundtrack a lot and just having a good time with it. So that would be my one reco. And again, I talked a lot about board games earlier, so find a board game, get sucked in. Well, I guess I talked about that in the pre-show, but yeah, board games, I'm enjoying those right now.
There you go. And if you need some recos, hit up Adam or friend of the show, Jonathan Steele. Jonathan Steele actually texted me the board games that he collected in 2020. Dude has he's got an impressive collection. So if you guys need some recommendations, there's some people in the community that you can touch base with, and they'll hit you up with some stuff. Because man, it's wild. Jonathan Steele actually got me introduced to it was either him or J Cubed that introduced me to Clank this year or in 2020, which is my favorite board game right now. Like I can't get enough of it. So I guess on the topic of board games, I'll reco that. If you guys are looking for a board game, I'll throw Clank out there. It's an awesome dungeon crawler that me and my wife play, and I love it. It's amazing.
Is it cooperative?
No, it's competitive. There's no
Okay.
cooperative stuff. So yeah, you're trying to take out the other people and all stuff. Yeah, just look it up. I'll put it in the show notes. You guys can check that out. So my other recos are, y'all know that your boy's a Persona fan. Love me some Persona. Part of the reason why I love Persona so much is because the music in the games is just, it's banging. It's real good. It makes me bob my head a little bit and shuffle a little bit. I keep both feet on the ground like a true Southern Baptist, and so I don't get too crazy with it. But the Persona soundtracks are available on Spotify, iTunes Music, and I think Amazon Music as well. So if you miss out on those, go check those out. Persona 5 is on there, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 3. The dancing games with the remixes of the original songs are on there. Go check it out. I posted a link to it in the Discord server. If you're in there, just head over to the Jukebox channel. You can listen to it there. Great music. I was listening to it in the office today, actually. And my other reco is, man, it's already a crazy start to what will undoubtedly be a crazy year. But I think it's one of those things where we need to be mindful of to just love our neighbors as we love ourselves. We love ourselves well, and we should just check on our neighbors from time to time and just see how they're doing. Check on people in our church. Check on people in the places that we frequent, and just see how they're doing. And let's just be good to one another. It's like what I tell my students all the time. this world tries to tear us down and we don't need to add to it. Let's try to be a little bit of a positive light to those around us and an encouraging one as well. I think that would go a long way this year in helping others out. And so with that being said, dear listeners, episode 182 is coming to a close. But hey, if you want to support what we do at TRG, if you like what we do here at TRG and you want to support us financially, you can do so by heading over to the merch shop. Link will be in your show notes. You can get yourself a hoodie, t-shirt, mug, those kind of things. Head on over there and check that out. And if you do purchase some merch, take a picture of you rocking it and send it our way. We'd love to post that on our Instagram and social account and just kind of brag on you a little bit and how beautiful you look in that merch. If you want to get our shows early, you can go over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers and support us over there and get the shows early, uncut, get access to our monthly Q&As. And if you support at $5 and above, you actually get access to a behind the scenes show where we talk about some of the more logistical side of the podcast and a little bit of a random topic each month. Now, as always, we encourage you to get involved in our community as well. Follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast. Join the Facebook group, like the Facebook page. Follow us on Instagram to see what we're playing in between recordings and things of that nature. And join the Discord server as well. If you want to get some more content from us, you can go over to our website, thereformedgamers.com. Like I said, we have a TRG Best of 2020 series going on with our writers sharing their favorite picks of 2020. And Wesley is going to be cranking out some retrospectives here where he takes a look back at some retro games. He sent me a list of the games that he's got lined up for this year. And I'm just telling you, you guys are not going to want to miss out on this. He is firing on all cylinders for 2021 with these retro games. So you definitely don't want to miss out on that. As always, if you want to hang out with me on Twitch every Friday morning, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. So twitch.tv/thetheologan. A lot of ways for you to stay connected with TRG. A lot of ways for you to get connected with the community. Highly encourage you to get connected in one of those ways. And let's just continue growing TRG in 2021. Let's continue making the deer community a strong one that makes an impact on the gaming world. And that being said, dear listeners, welcome to 2021. Be a deer. Keep it locked here. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Reformed Gamers, the podcast all about theology and gaming. TRG is edited by Deer Ear Productions, so thank them for the buttery smooth tones in your ear. If you're looking for extra content, head on over to youtube.com/thereformedgamers. The Reformed Gamers is entirely fan-supported over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers by our dear patrons. The following deer are at the producer level or higher and will forever be thanked at the end of each show, as long as their pledge comes through, or we forget to update the audio. Those people are David Matthews, Colin Gregory, and Wesley Ray. Thank you for your support on patreon.com, keeping our controllers charged, and supporting Logan in his never-ending quest to collect them all. Platinum trophies, that is. So be a deer and keep it locked here. Keep listening. We'll catch you later.